Good day guys, Austin here, and in this one today, we're going to be making the Sega Genesis Mini Classic. Now what this is a little tiny console that has more or less every Sega system from back in the day I would ever imagine to play. Now what I have done is transform the Sega official hub, which is this, the little tiny miniature version of a Sega Genesis, and I've transformed it into an actual console. Everything is within there, it holds all the system, it's got all the games, and in this video today I'm going to show you how to make it, and I'm going to give you everything you need to run it. So in other words, I'm going to give you the front end all completely reconfigured, all set up to run, I don't know, Sega SG-1000, the Game Gear, Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, Master System, Sega CD, 32X, and then later in the future we're going to pump this even further to see what other games we can start to play from other systems. But for right now we're going to keep this all Sega, all retro, and we're going to transform and make this into the ultimate Sega Mini Genesis Classic, whatever this thing is. It's awesome. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. So to get this up and working the way that I've made mine, you're going to need some certain parts. Now, list and links down in the description down below to guide you to each one of these parts. Of course, some of you already in the scene may already have certain of these parts and you may not need them. Also, you may be able to find or source the parts cheaper elsewhere. These are just a rough guideline to give you an idea where you can get them and how much they will cost. First off then, you're going to need a Raspberry Pi 3. There is lots of different ones available, however, because I've made mine on the most powerful one at the time, which is the Raspberry Pi 3, which just so happens to fit perfectly within this case, it means that that's the one that I've used. Also, I have made the SD card image, or the actual front end of all the games and stuff, that is compatible with the Raspberry Pi 3. If you use another one, then I cannot guarantee my image will work. So to future-proof yourself, get the Pi 3. Now to put the actual image on, you're going to need the SD card. Now I'm using a Samsung Evo 32GB. Now of course you can use a different make and you can use a lot bigger. You can't go smaller, and also if you do use a different make, I cannot guarantee that it will be the exact same size of mine. Please though, make sure it is a brandable SD card. Even though you may be able to find them a lot cheaper online, get a branded one, otherwise it will not work or you will end up with errors further down the line. Now in order for us to get the information onto the SD card, you're going to need a PC with either an SD card reader writer or you're going to need a USB reader writer to make that magic happen. So you're going to need one of those. Other than that then, HDMI lead, a power cable, 5 volts with 2.5 amps. You're going to need a sharp knife or snips. Other than that then, the controllers to make you actually play the game. Again, I'll put examples as we're going through the video, but you can use pretty much any controller that is USB or Windows compatible. They're pretty damn good. And of course, last but not least, you're going to need the Genesis hub itself. Now, there is no one place to get these. These were given away in one of those little packages that you subscribe to, like Geekblock and all that kind of stuff. I can't remember which one it was, but these are freely available online, eBay. I think some of them are on Amazon, loads of different places. I'll put an example of a search of me getting it again in the description down below. But trust me, you can source these from a lot of places, especially now that these are getting popular. So there you go, that's everything that I've used. So when you open up the package, it comes as you would expect. There's nothing in there apart from the actual hub itself. It's pretty damn well made. It is well put together. It's officially licensed from Sega themselves, and although they have been pretty dubious with giving away their logo and franchise, this one is pretty damn well made. But at the end of the day, it's just a hub. Also, you get a little sticker that comes with it. Not that you're going to really do much with that. Right then, to get things going, you're going to have to open it up. So it's got simple 4 screws, 1 in each corner. It's not exactly rocket science. You just use a screwdriver, open it all up, and then you can get to the insides. There is one thing that you may be hesitant about on this one. It's the fact that when you do undo all the screws and you start to prise it open, the front latches where actually the USB hub connections are in, or the socket should I say, it's a little stiff. Don't worry, just give it a little tug and it does come undone. It doesn't snap anything, although it feels like it will do. At that point then you can get in there and you can see what is actually inside. At the end of it, it's just a little tiny hub microchip thing with 4 sockets and a wire hanging off, roughly tied to a bit of a pole on the inside. Also, the switches actually work, and in later videos we will be adding an actual working switch to this. But for now, let's take a look at the Raspberry Pi and how we're going to fit it in. It is actually almost a perfect fit. It's as if they actually wanted you to do this. There is just enough space and it fits almost perfectly where you would like it to go. It's, again, as if they designed it to be like this. But, of course, you are going to have to think about holes in the case to actually get the wires so you can plug it all in, get the power, the HDMI lead and all that kind of good stuff. So, move your wires out the way, put it where you would like it to be placed or where you think it should be placed, and then you can start to line up of where you're going to make your incisions in the case using your sharp knife, snips, whatever you want to use. I use a file myself and I'll link it down below. The small metal files, and they allow you to get more of a smoother hole. So mark it off and make incisions. Remember, slowly, that's how you're going to do this one. Now, of course, you can use a Raspberry Pi. It's much smaller and you probably would find it a lot easier to get your stuff in there. But when it comes to the actual price of the Raspberry Pi, yes, it's a lot cheaper buying the Zero. However, by the time you buy all the bits to make it so your USB is full size, you get the power, the HDMI lead converter and all that kind of stuff, it kind of bumps up the price quite a bit. So I would stick to the full power, the full size Raspberry Pi 3. Now, after an hour of me actually literally hacking away at the hub case, I got it fitted. It wasn't that hard, but there's one thing I've learned: you can take away, but you can't put it in there. So don't judge, but that's what I got. I went a bit buck crazy with the HDMI lead, but as you can see, if you take your time, you can get it to fit virtually perfectly. Now, the Raspberry Pi 3 inside, it literally does. It is snug as a bug. Now, the only thing I added was a little bit of foam down the bottom here. That means that it marries up with the holes perfectly, and I don't need any glue or anything like that to hold it in place. It is perfect at how it sits. Something else I added was a little fan. Now, you can pick these up for a few bucks off Amazon. I'll put, again, links in the description down below. That simply plugs in and keeps it cool under long periods. Raspberry Pis do get a little bit hot when you keep them on for a while, or you do some excessive gaming, so it is advised, but not exactly needed. I made small incisions into the USB part of it so I could actually move the wire. This means I don't have to snip the wire and solder it on. I can simply just plug it in. The case in close up, my bastardization of the actual holes. Take your time on this. You can take it away, but you can't add the plastic on there, at least not without a lot of trouble. And here is the actual fan itself. It's a simple case of just plugging it into the GPIO pins to get this working. And of course, the non-essential bit of foam that keeps it all snug as a bug without the need of glue. Now, wiring it all up isn't exactly rocket science. Everything fits exactly where it's supposed to. The HDMI lead goes in the HDMI slot, the power goes in the power slot, and of course the controller goes into the controller slot. I haven't put all the screws in here, so the case is just loose at this moment. I'm simply just making sure everything is working, everything is powering on, and everything is exactly as it should be before I start going more permanent with all this. Now, for a controller, I managed to pick one of these up off eBay. It was just me off on a whim. These are like $3-4. Again, I'll put a link in the description down below. They are literally the cheapest controllers you can buy off eBay, but they are an imitation of the actual Sega controller. And trust me, I have bought more expensive versions and more expensive controllers in general than this, and they've been lesser quality. I was very surprised with this. There is no logo in there, so I suppose it lets it down, but the shape and the form factor is that of an identical version of what you pick up in later generations of the Genesis itself. It's pretty nigh on perfect, and to be honest, I was that impressed that I bought 4 of these so I can have 4-player action across the board. And yeah, I was more than happy with this, and of course it's USB, so it fits perfectly in this build. Right, so the first thing you need to do to get the image onto your Raspberry Pi or the Mini Genesis is to actually have the image itself. Now, this is the image. Of course, it may differ depending on how much I've updated it. The name may have changed, the version number may be different, the size may even be different if I've added more systems, which I hope to do in the future. Now, obviously, wherever you download this from, I will put this officially on the MU Movies website. This is due to the fact that a lot of the actual artwork and, I don't know, creative stuff that has been used to make this image and the theme and everything that goes along with it has been taken from the MU Movies community. So it's only right that I give them the first opportunity to have this image for you to download. In other words, you've got to be a member of this community to download it and have access to the FTP. Now, I'll put a link in the description down below to this website, and I'll put where it's located in the FTP itself. All you need to do then is download the image. It'll be compressed, and then when you get it downloaded, uncompress it, decompresses, or extract it, whatever you want to call it, and you'll end up with this, the file itself. Now, this will be in a IMG format, a disk image file. Now, what we need to do is transfer this onto our SD card that we're going to be using. What you need to do then is input it into your computer, and you should have a notification, as we just seen there, that you've got it basically put into your SD card reader, your drive, your something on your computer to tell you what drive it is. Now, for me, it's coming up as iDrive. Now, it's very important that I remember what drive letter that is, because it will impact if you mess that up. So remember, for me, it's iDrive. For you, it could be something different. Okay, once you've got that, then what I need to do is transfer this image to that drive. Now, first off, I need to format the actual SD card to make sure it's in its optimum state, it's big enough, and it is clear. I also need it to stop telling me that it's an iDrive. Then what I need to do is write the image. So we need two programs. We need Win32 Disk Imager and SD Formatter to actually format the drive. Now, I'll put links in the description down below. Download those two programs and utilize them as this. So for me, it's SD Formatter first. Let's load it up. And as we can see, it's already told me that it's in iDrive. It is very important that you get the right drive letter to your SD card. Now, of course, it may differ depending on your computer, but for me, it's definitely I. So I'm going to keep everything as standard, and I'm just going to tell it to format it. Now, what this will do is it'll basically wipe the entire drive, or the entire SD card, and it will get it to its biggest possible total space, which in my case is 29.8 gigabytes. It's always less than what is actually on the packaging. That is its maximum. So depending on what drive you get, obviously, like I said, it depends on how much space you've got. My image may not fit on your SD card, so you'll get errors. Okay, then once that's done, then click OK, and that is basically done for that program. We've now formatted it. Now what we need to do is transfer this image onto the SD card so it knows, well, so it's got all the files and folders in place like it should do. So next program then, Win32 Disk Imager. Load that up. Now, as you can see, it's given me as default F drive. I don't want to use that. I want to use iDrive. If I did do F, what it'll do is it would probably wipe whatever F drive was and replace it with the image of that build, something which is probably really bad. So once I've done that, then select iDrive. Then what I need to do is select where my image is to actually write it. So click on this little folder here. Navigate to wherever it is you've downloaded your image to. So for my case, it's Mini Gen on my desktop. Click open, and there you've got everything in place to go. So all I need to do now is click write and let it do what it does. Also, with that image will be an info file or a text document. Make sure you read up on that. It's not just a boring readme. It's really important. On there is the information what is actually on the card, details of where to get further information in terms of, well, the image itself. Also, relevant websites which may help you for actually modding your case and things like that, and so on and so forth. It's a fountain of knowledge within there that may help you in the future. Right, so I'm going to leave you now as this actually progresses through there. It's going to take about, I don't know, it usually takes about 10 minutes. Depends on the size of your SD card, speed of your computer, reader, writer, all that kind of good stuff. But it's going to take a little bit anyway. So see you on the flip side. Okay, so once that's done then, all you need to do is eject the SD card, and now we can take it over to our build and get this up and running. So once you do put it in, turn it on, you'll be greeted with this screen. A little welcome message asking you to configure your controller. Just follow the on-screen commands, and once you've done that, you will get into the interface itself, and it is all set up. Everything is configured. It's all good to go. You can snap through all the menus, you can get into all your systems. You can do whatever you want. Also, configuring those controls actually configures the game controls also. So there's literally nothing you need to do except if you download the official build from the FTP, I couldn't add the games. That is literally the only thing I couldn't do. And that is because it's public, and me sharing the games would get me into a lot of trouble. This video would be taken down and nobody would be able to get what we've got here now. So it's a simple case of dragging and dropping the games into the correct folder and you're good to go. Each one of those systems that you can see on the screen is the systems that I used. I went through them all at the beginning. So all those Sega systems are configured and good to go. Obviously, I kept this to Sega only. Later on, I will add more systems and I will give more updates. I am sure in time, people will actually compile a complete image with all the games already up and running, and I'm sure they will share that in time. But me, myself, I cannot give you those links or those shares because it will get me into trouble and this video will be taken down. I hope you can understand my limitations, but I do not mind anybody else working on this. I don't mind anybody else contributing to this. Right then, this didn't come from me in terms of ideas. I just do what I normally do. I see something, I push it to the limit. I want to get the added extras. I want to push this as far as it can do. But for now, I need to say thanks and for where this all came from. First off, the backbone of all this in terms of the software is Blue Motion, developed by David. Thank you so much for that, mate. It is awesome. It is that enables me to add the videos. It enabled me to actually transform it and put my theme in and to make this into what it is that works with the Genesis Hub itself. Also, thank you to Ryan for actually showing me the Genesis Hub. I never knew this existed those many months ago, but you were the one who popped up on my Facebook page and showed me the way, showed me what was possible, and showed me this gem that Sega had released, or at least licensed out. Also, TRCC, your YouTube videos have been awesome. I didn't know where to start with this. I took a look at yours. You've already done the groundwork. You were the one who actually put the Raspberry Pi in there and showed me that it was possible. So thank you for that. Links to all of these down in the description down below, along with others such as the Genesis Hub group. People are working on this together and sharing their resources, sharing their ideas and what you can come up with. I will again link that in the description down below, and thank you to everybody in the scene. There's probably loads of people that have missed out, which has helped this evolve into its state that it's in now. But thank you to you all, even you as the viewer. You all make this happen. You all make it what it is. So thank you very much. And with all that in mind, this is still very much a work in progress. I released my first build, which is this. There's still a lot of polishing that I would like to do, and there's still, like I said, a lot of things that I would like to add to this, especially in terms of games and of course in terms of systems. If there's anything that you would like, I don't know, put in there next, then put them in the comments down below. I will try to do my best to add them. Of course, there is lots of other people building on this kind of stuff. It is a scene in general. I do not command it, and I expect everybody to just enjoy it at the end of the day. There's still some finishing touches, but they will come. Work in progress means that there will be other builds released, and as soon as they are, bring them especially to your attention. So I would like your input to make this, well, what everybody would like. But anyway, guys, it's been a pleasure as always bringing this to you. I absolutely love the Sega consoles. I love the Sega games. I am a big Sega fanboy back in the day. Of course, now we've grown up out of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, Sega do what Nintendo don't. So please like, please subscribe, please do all the things that people do in this world where we do what Nintendo don't. But most of all, you have a good day, guys. Later.